Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the February the 16th, 2021 Dare County Board of Commissioners meeting. At this time, I'd like to offer an invocation by Dr. Wayne Berry, who is part of the North Dare Ministerial Association. Let us pray. All loving and all merciful God, God of all people, the aborigine in the wilds and outbacks, who knows little to nothing of your free, life-giving, and liberating love, the political prisoner in Russia witnessing to the freedoms that democracy can be. We citizens and commissioners of Dare County, North Carolina, who meet in freedom, having celebrated yesterday those who have served our free country as its president. Thank you for those who have faithfully served our country in this esteemed office of president since our beginnings, and thank you for those who advance and defend our love of freedom and educators, politicians, safety officers, and military. Be with our commissioners as they identify and prioritize the needs of those living within our county's borders, and be with those tomorrow and the days after who will execute the plans, proposals, and work orders developed as a result of this day's hearings and deliberations. We are people of limited resources who strive valiantly to remember that all that is good originates in you. In the midst of the current stressors of life, please grant our commissioners patience when listening to the voices of those making public their individual, family, or community's needs, and grant our commissioners wisdom as they deliberate and weigh the request being made of them. As a people, we are interdependent. Grant all addressing the board tolerance and respect. Help each consider the importance of their own request in light of the request of others. Compassionate God, in your infinite love and understanding, please grant us all serenity to accept those things we cannot change, courage to change those things we can, and wisdom to know the difference. In love and gratitude, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. May we stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. County Manager.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, item 1 on the agenda is the chairman's opening remarks.
Thank you, County Manager. Just have a few things this evening. The Dare County Board of Education voted February the 9th unanimously to return our students to the classroom beginning March the 1st. Pre-K to 5 will be in school Monday through Thursday, and there'll be 2 sessions, 2 groups of grades 6 through 12. One group will go Monday and Tuesday. Second group will go Wednesday and Thursday. I know that our parents, and I'm sure our students, are looking forward to this. This is a long time coming, and glad to see that this action was certainly taken by our Board of Education board members. Dare County's close to almost issuing 10,000 COVID shots. Commissioner Tobin just motioned to me he's had his second, so good deal, Commissioner. 9,841 first shots of COVID, and so that's coming along quite well. Almost 10,000, 7,497 first doses and 2,344 second doses, and we'll be doing 600 additional first doses here in the next week or so. So that's moving along, and once again, I've visited the site, as most of my fellow commissioners have, and it is working very, very smoothly from Health and Human Resources. Has done just Dr. Davies and her staff has just done a tremendous job. Next item, a lot of folks in Collington are going to really be happy about this because it was postponed for over a year, because of some restrictions with COVID and budget delays. But the state now plans to begin construction of the Collington Road improvements starting in August of this year, August and September. That's a rather large project for them. It's a $17 million project, of which $10.8 million will be spent in construction, and $4.8 million and $1.7 million were needed for right-of-way acquisitions and utility relocation. So they will. The contractor's going to be given a year to complete the job, but that's elevating roads, widening roads, bike paths. So there's going to be some angst for citizens traveling from in and out of Collington, but once the project's complete, it's certainly going to be a welcomed upgrade for Collington area. I'd like to also just take a minute to remind the public that our virtual meeting on February the 24th, which is next week, will begin at 6 p.m. to discuss the proposed Avon Beach Nourishment Project, and the county manager will outline that for those of you that choose to watch this virtually. And then certainly last but not least, prayers are answered. I want us to continue to keep the Love family in our thoughts and prayers. That Tatum has made some improvement, and she'll be moved to a facility that specializes in traumatic brain injury out of going to a place called Shepherd Center in Atlanta, and I'm told that is the premier trauma center for brain injuries in the entire country. So continue to keep the Love family and Tatum in your thoughts and prayers. County Manager, that's all I have this evening.
Mr. Chairman, next on the agenda is public comment, and we'll wait just a second and see if we get any public comment.
Good. Is everyone else fine? Good.
Good. All right. That takes us to item number 3, and this is a public hearing on the travel and trailer park ordinance. We've talked about this at several meetings. Before you can adopt this ordinance, we have to have a public hearing, so now's the time that's been set aside for that public hearing. If there's any public comment, now's the time to send it in. I will say for the record, any public comment that has been received by the board prior to this meeting is in the board packet, and you have it, you've seen it, so any public comment that we get now we'll consider as you move forward as well.
Donna, do you want to address us with that, or should we just, is the board ready to, does the board have any questions of Donna?
No.
Okay, then pleasure of the board.
Move that the proposed amendment to the travel trailer park campground ordinance be adopted as recommended by the planning board.
Second. Thank you. Vice Chairman Overman made a motion to adopt the proposed amendments, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Bateman. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Chairman, that brings us to item 4 on the agenda. This is the Manteo Shallowbag Bay Dredge project change order. As you know, this project is a project that was funded from a direct appropriation from the state. There's no county funds involved in this project. As they have progressed and as we've made the progress payment, it appears there's going to be a little over $60,000 in excess funds, and those funds can't be spent anywhere else other than on the Shallowbag Bay project. And so this change order is to change the scope of the project to budget in those excess funds and allow them to do additional dredging beyond the original scope up to that amount. And to move in that direction, we need your approval.
Motion to approve.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner House to request to approve change order 1 and to allow the county manager to execute the change order. I believe it was seconded by Commissioner Tobin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Item 5 on the agenda is a resolution to support the Hatteras Inlet channel realignment. As you all know, you've seen the surveys that come down there, and there's a circuitous way in which you have to navigate the channels to get out Hatteras Inlet. The Corps has asked that we support them in their efforts to realign that channel, and so this resolution is our support of that, and we ask that you approve the resolution.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Tobin to approve the resolution supporting the realignment of Hatteras Inlet to include Barney Slough Channel and South Ferry Channel as the direct route to the Hatteras Gorge. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner House. Any further discussion?
I just had a clarifying question, if I could. Getting a little bit of feedback, unfortunately.
Feedback here, Matt.
There we go. County Manager, Bobby. We are being requested to concur with the Corps?
I would say yes. It's their request and their process to get the channel realigned, and they need support from the local government in the area where the channel is to do that. And so this resolution is our concurrence and our support of their efforts.
Not to be a wise guy, but I'm somewhat taken aback that they're actually looking for support and approval kind of thing. Usually it's, they've let us know there's a new channel, and by the way.
It's just one of their layers of bureaucracy they have to.
Yeah, that's the only puzzler I had on it, why they would be seeking that. And if I'm correct in reading the diagram, the new approval, as Bob just explained, including Barney Slough and Sloop Channel, makes this a very, very long and circuitous journey as opposed to that historic channel full of a more direct route to Ocracoke's ferry terminal. Yeah?
Yes.
Do we know, and I think, Irv, you mentioned, Commissioner Bateman, earlier, just in passing, that it was now about a 1 hour, 10 minute?
Hour and 5 minutes.
Hour and 5 minute route. And that, do we know the total distance? Again, these are just curiosity questions, guys.
I don't know. Danny, do you know?
It's a little over 7 miles. It's a haul.
Yeah.
7 miles. And I'm looking also at that green colored outline of what the southern end of Hatteras used to be and how it has receded to its present location, which I also thought was quite stunning. Anyway, I just had those clarifiers because I'm just not used to the Army saying, or Corps saying, we're requesting your support for something. It's
The one thing that I find very interesting in this is the addition of the channel from where the ferry dock is to the gorge, because that's never been on there, which should allow some federal monies to be used there if this is accepted, which is a good thing, because that's what, we're paying for the dredging there right now.
That's right. Yep.
Yep, we want the blue line to be much bigger.
Yep. So there's a motion on the floor. Is there any other comment? Well, then, hearing none, those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, item 6 on the agenda is a proposal for the transportation of non-custodial substance abuse patients to treatment facilities. Over time, there's sort of two kinds of substance abuse patients that need transportation. There's those that have a substance abuse problem and get arrested for whatever reason or in custody, and we find that they need treatment and need to be moved out of the hospital or wherever they are to get to a treatment facility. And the sheriff does those transportations as we speak. Part of his budget is to budget funds not directly to that, but in his overall budget, he covers that cost, and that has not been a problem for us. It's a problem in other communities, but it has not been a problem for Dare County, and in talking with the sheriff, it's not a problem now. On the other hand, we have people that show up in the hospital at various times, often late at night, that have substance abuse problems, and they can't treat them at the hospital. They need to be at a substance abuse facility, and there is no process to transport those. What happens when that occurs is they call social services or wherever, and sometimes a social worker will take them, but we've pretty much told the social workers not to do that. You've got a patient who's in a mental health crisis, a substance abuse crisis, who needs treatment, and we're going to send one of our social workers out in the middle of the night to drive them to Greenville or to Fayetteville or to wherever we have to take them, and that's not safe for them. There's no way to actually transport the patient safely and all that. And in working with the Substance Abuse Task Force, we looked at ways to try to do that. And right now it's very random. They'll call a friend, they'll call a neighbor, they'll call Irvin, they'll call somebody to try to find a way. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, everybody's scrambling around to get this person into treatment, and often it just doesn't occur. And when that person who's not in custody is in the hospital seeking treatment, that's the time to act, because if you let it go, tomorrow he or she's feeling better, they got their fix or whatever, and the incentive to go get the treatment is gone. And so we need a way to get those people transported to somewhere when they need that treatment, which usually isn't at a convenient time or during the day when it's easy to do. So in discussing that, there's over 100 opportunities or 100 patients like that need that type of transportation annually. In talking with the Substance Abuse Task Force to look at ways to do that, the idea arose that maybe the sheriff could transport them too. And if we could provide him with another deputy, then he would make sure that if that occurred at night, he had enough deputies, he could take a deputy out of service and send that deputy to do those transports for us. And so the sheriff has agreed to do this and thinks it will work well. He could use the deputy to do other things when he's not transporting, or when and it won't be the same deputy doing the transporting every time. It'll just be, he'll have enough staff to cover it. And so it helps him during the times when we don't need transport, and it helps us because we're getting people who need substance abuse help somewhere to get that help at the time that they need it. The cost to upfit a deputy is about $18,150. That's for his uniform, his gun, all the stuff you got to have a deputy. His salary, a new deputy's salary with benefits, is about $66,305. And ultimately, that deputy is going to need a car at some point, not now, but at some point. So what's being proposed is that we authorize the sheriff to hire a deputy and begin doing these transports as quickly as he can hire the deputy. That $66,000 would be prorated for the remainder of this year, and the $18,000 with that proration would come out of the substance abuse fund that we have, or the recovery court fund that we now have. We've got about $30,000 or so in that fund that's not spent and isn't earmarked for anything. And so we could use that in the short run to cover that cost for this budget cycle. And if it ran over a little bit, or that fund was shorter than we thought, we could use some from contingency to cover it, or we could do it out of the sheriff's payroll. But we can make it work for the remainder of this year. And then next year in the budget, we would suggest that we would add that position to the budget and fund it as a part of the sheriff's budget, and then refund the substance abuse, the recovery court line item with the same 125 that we've been doing to be used for those various substance abuse purposes. And then in our normal car rotation plan and car purchase plan, we would work this vehicle for another deputy into the system over time as we needed to, and used up the old and used cars. So that's the plan. I've talked with the sheriff and the chief deputy about it. They're both on board. It works. I've talked with Sally in finance. The money is there in the substance abuse line item. And so what I need is your approval to do this, and then your authorization for me to move the funds as I need to accomplish this.
Just information for my benefit. The salary and the clothing, do we know what the benefits package amount's going to cost as well?
Well, that $66,000 includes that.
It includes it? Okay.
Yeah, and it's roughly a third if you're just looking for a number
Yeah.
off the top of your
Okay.
head.
Sounds good. Pleasure of the board.
I would move to approve this. It was one of the things that was brought up during my campaign in this past year, and have been looking forward to seeing something like this come to fruition. So I would definitely be on board with it.
I second it.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner House to authorize the hiring an additional deputy sheriff and authorize the manager to execute such budget amendments as are necessary to fund the position. And it's been seconded by Commissioner Bateman. Any further discussion?
I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who's responsible to transport the return of this patient? I mean, if we're transporting them to a facility, are we responsible to transport them back?
I would say no, because usually by the time that they're there, then they have an opportunity for family, whatever. If they've recovered, they can get public transportation. There's a way for them to get back. The issue isn't returning them.
I was looking at Commissioner Bateman possibly.
Jim, a lot of times, for instance, if you go into a detox, 7-day detox, for instance, whatever, the issue we've been having is not being able to have someone to take them there. They pick up mom, dad, wife, family member, they pick them up. A long-term treatment, by the time you're in the facility for 30 to 180 days, you're back in the big bed, so to speak. They're talking to you, and you can get rides back. And also, they'll even give you bus tickets and so forth from the facilities. Get your transportation back. That's a good question, though.
Just so you know, and I'll give some kudos, Commissioner Bateman and Commissioner Overman have spent a bunch of times, I don't know how many meetings we've had with them and others trying to figure out a plan to do this. And we've considered everything from public transportation to using our transportation services to assigning 2 social workers so we could keep it safe. But this seemed like the best way to do it and the safest way to do it, and I think it'll work.
I think the key that came down on this was, as Bobby pointed out a number of times, he's used the word several times, but the key to the whole thing was being able to do it safely. And as everything and all the discussions we had, that was a key element of putting this together. And it seems like the absolute best way to make this happen, that will be a viable solution ongoing.
I agree.
All right, good deal. Anyone else?
I'd like to personally thank Mr. David Pushover for seeing this through, like I said, and also with county manager, because I know this was not an easy subject to approach, and I knew it took a lot of planning and time, and I appreciate that effort.
All right, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Chairman, that brings us to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, you have the approval of the minutes, you have the tax collector's report, you have the advertisement of the 2020 tax liens, you have a 3-year contract for the Google Workspace, and you have an appointment to the local Firefighters Relief Board. Before you act on this, item number 4 is the Google Workspace contract. That contract is typically a routine contract, but there's some changes that I needed to make in them for legal reasons. We don't have the final version back, and so when you approve that, I'm asking you to approve the consent agenda with that contract, subject to the changes that we're waiting on from them per the request that Matt and I made to the Google folks. So with that said, this is for your approval.
Okay.
What is it again? It's a workspace
So
enterprise
we have
upgrade?
Google Workspace with all the emails, all the things you do, your word processing, all that you do is all done through Google, and we have to buy that from a vendor that works through Google. And so this is the contract that we enter to purchase our ability to use those Google products on that you all have on your phones and your computers and all that other stuff.
Okay. I'm always suspicious of those guys. I mean, I know we need it. And
Yeah, they've got-
not our guys, I mean.
Yeah, right.
Those guys.
And they've got you. I mean,
That's the other part that makes me suspicious.
All right. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner House. It's been seconded by Commissioner Ross. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
that'd be your agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, County Manager. That brings us to item 8, which is Commissioner's business. And Commissioner House, will you kick that off for us this evening?
Oh, sure. I don't have a lot to go over. This is basically just 2 different things. One of our history for today. In 1923, archaeologist Howard Carter opened up the tomb of King Tut. And in 1959, Fidel Castro was
Wait a minute, did he find anything?
He found Tut.
Okay, just curious.
In 1959, Fidel Castro was sworn in as Prime Minister of Cuba. We all know how that's going. And in 1968, the very first 911 call was placed by Representative Rankin Fight, Speaker of the Alabama House of Representatives in Haleysville, Alabama. You might want to consider why the numbers 911 considered. 911 was assigned by AT&T via its long-distance service and ownership of several local Bell telephone subsidiaries. So, it's not worldwide. 911 is just here in the United States. If you go to England, it's 999. So if you go to another country, make sure you know what the definition, what the numerics are for your emergency calls. And also for our favorite part of all of our commissioners' meetings, I do believe we have a hound dog.
Our pet of the week for this week is Killian. He is a sweet and mellow hound who is about 5.5 years old. This beautiful soul just completed his heartworm treatment
like mine.
in a wonderful foster home.
Pretty dog.
His
I got one
foster
just like
family
that.
told us his favorite part of every day is going to the beach. After his beach walk, Killian enjoys
Good
his
bone.
long afternoon naps.
Yeah.
He gets along with all humans, dogs, and feline friends. To adopt Killian or foster
Brilliant.
one of our other animals, you can come visit us Monday through Saturday at our shelter located in Manteo. For more information, visit our website at www.obxspca.org or visit our OBX SPCA Facebook page.
And also I'd like to point out, if you look at the OBX SPCA, they have a new logo with the paw print with the different colors on it. Very nice logos. And they just had it redone on the on some of their vans, and I'm sure you'll see it on the new building as well. So with that, I'm good. Thank you, and happy Valentine's Day to everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner House. Isn't the SPCA having something promotional for, I thought I saw something on Facebook
You
for trying to cans?
They're looking for everything,
That's
detergents,
what I thought.
towels, sheets.
Gotcha.
Kitten food, cat food, dog food, toys, kitten toys. They're raising all items in anticipation of moving to the new facility and having sufficient stock on hand. So,
Great.
absolutely, yes, thank you.
Is that, are those, do we know the dates, Commissioner?
At the moment, I don't, but
I
I
don't
can
off the top of my
find
head.
that momentarily.
Pardon? Oh, it's from now through
Yeah.
through March, through the end of March. Okay,
Gotcha.
good deal. Good deal. All right, thank you, Commissioner Howell.
Yes, through March 31st. Yes, thank you very much.
All right, Commissioner Ross?
Thank you. I'm just going to look at a couple of details here for that, if I may.
Absolutely.
Items may be dropped off at the Chamber of Commerce offices between 9 and 4 on weekdays, or should you need pickup, they will come and pick up. That's the Outer Banks Chamber of Commerce leading this drive for hand soap, sanitizers, sheets, blankets, collars, dog food, cat food, puppy dog, dishwashing, laundry detergent. They need everything, folks, so thank you, Steve. Good call, good call.
Okay, good deal.
These are good folks doing good work over there.
And I'm sure they also need people to come adopt.
They do, and that's another good point, Commissioner House. Yes, sir. March 19th, again, quick reminder there of the ribbon cutting of the new facility for our Dare County shelter. I just have a couple of quick items. On a personal note, I had the pleasure of working with a young lady named Mary Pendle. Does everybody know that name? Mary sits on the Dare County Center board with me, and in a moment of levity, I joked about the upcoming polar plunge on February 23rd. Well, Ms. Pendle has declared that she is going to go in should we support the Special Olympics with a donation, to which I responded absolutely. So Mary and I will be there, along with, I'm sure, no one else crazy enough to go in the water.
No, Commissioner
23rd?
Bateman. Commissioner
Yes, sir.
Bateman.
Commissioner Bateman, you're
Yeah,
in, 3
yeah.
o'clock. the next
Tuesday,
period.
right?
That makes 3 of
Yeah.
us for sure.
I'd be there, but I'm out of town that day, but
And you passed your,
I'm already
your
freezing.
psychological profile. We did not. So anyway, that's February 23rd at 3 p.m. Dorothy, I'm sure you'll be there with a film crew to commemorate my last moments on the planet. And picking up on something we touched on earlier with regard to the additional sheriff and the resources necessary, I saw, thank you, Mr. Chair, you passed on information from McGuire Woods about 2 bills that have been introduced in the Senate, which I think are very, very good common sense approaches of ensuring that law enforcement is not separately or individually separated out for reduction of resources, funding, et cetera, and the other dealt with the cooperation with other law enforcement agencies as the federal government and local, state, and county governments cooperate to keep citizens safe. So I thought those were both very good bills introduced in
did
the
too.
North Carolina Senate. Thank you. That's all I have, sir.
I saw that one bill, especially police, and I said, you go, Senator.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Commissioner Tobin.
Yeah, I agree with Rob on that. I just hope that when those bills pass, they can make it past the governor's desk.
Yeah.
I have my doubts, but I just have a couple things. First, I'll say what I've learned about the Dredge project this week. We do have several Zoom meetings or conference calls a week now. The dredge is about 404 days out from being completed, even though it
We're
hasn't
gonna
been
write that down,
started yet.
404.
That's,
Mark it
that's
down.
as per contract, and if you go on Conrad's website, it actually posts how many days
Madam
they have.
Clerk, I want that canonized in concrete.
Some of the steel has started to be cut, and they have pushed up the date on when they're gonna start cutting steel at Conrad. The steel that's been cut now has been at one of the, suppliers. And another kind of interesting thing that happened this week is when we went to Mobile, Alabama, and we met with Mobile Pulley and Mayors, which are two separate companies. Mayors contacted us this week, and during Hurricane Katrina, a new dredge sunk and was not salvageable. And the drag heads that were used on that dredge meet our requirements, and there's 4 of them sitting in a yard available with a bunch of spare parts and the plans to them. So we still need to find out more about it, but we might be able to get drag heads for the thing pretty easily.
Is this the larger size?
And the pattern.
Is this the
included.
larger size ones?
Yeah, that's what he's talking
The
about.
larger size one?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, is it?
well, no, it's the size that meets the requirement of the permit. We can either do a 2 foot by 2 foot or a 2 foot by 3 foot, and that's one of the things we're making sure of, that they meet that requirement. But they were, when they were made for the dredge, they were made as Brunswick style, which is stipulated in the permit, so.
Gotcha. I'm
It's
confused.
kind of interesting they were
I am
found.
too.
Yeah, I thought the last time we were talking about this, I thought you said they were gonna do some redesign work to take a larger drag head.
That requires a change on the permit, though.
Right,
So
right.
we're not going to delay the dredge from being built.
Gotcha.
To redo the permit, you're probably going to have to do a environmental impact and all that stuff,
Gotcha.
so
Okay,
it would take a couple of years.
gotcha.
So that was pretty good. And the other thing is, we had a conference call, Commissioner Woodard and Wally was on the call with us, with the COA for the long-term strategic plan. And I think, what were there, 15 or 16 participants,
Yeah.
I think, on that call?
I think it was 15.
And a lot of really good input.
It was.
I listened, I wanted to learn more than talk. And it was very good.
It was.
It was encouraging. But anyway, that's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Couch?
Yes, sir. I don't know if y'all knew Kathleen Gant. She worked at the Cavalier Hotel there near the Collington intersection on the beach side over by the KDH bathhouse. She was quite a character. I really enjoyed talking to her. Her father was Jep Harris, who was a longtime keeper there at Kill Devil Hills Station, which the Cavalier, I think, is the oldest still operating hotel. That thing's been there a long time. But I bring her up because I don't know if you remember, years ago, Dorothy and her group had the Dare County Land of Beginnings and interviewed local people just about heritage. They were really well done. But the particular one that Kathleen was in, she was in there with Sam Beecham from Kitty Hawk and a guy named George McLean, and just the room was just bubbling over with, I mean, these were generally an hour and a half, and they ended up being about 4 hours. It was big stuff for Kitty Hawk. People came out to Black Pelican and ate. I still remember the story that Sam Beecham, it took forever to get him to agree to sit in at Land of Beginnings, but he told a story about how they were caught out in the Sound with we'll just call it a borrowed boat. And the wind fell out, and they were trying to get that sailboat back, and they were at wit's end. And, one of the boys had a penny and said, we can make a wish here and see if sometimes it works, see if we can get in. He goes, but I'm not throwing my penny over. And another boy said, well, I got a nickel. I sure ain't throwing it over. Well, anyway, they drew straws, and the boy with the nickel had to throw had to make a wish and throw the nickel over his shoulder. Well, about 20 minutes after he did that, a thunder squall came up and blew them into Kitty Hawk Bay in a matter of minutes. And when they got to shore, the owner of the boat and Sam's father proceeded to scold him out and said, "What have you got to say for yourself?" And the boy that threw the nickel in said, "Well, if I'd have known what was going to happen, I wouldn't have ordered so much." And, yeah, Kathleen told a good story. This guy, George McLean, I wish you knew him. He was back from the casino days. He talked about working with Ras Westcott, who was Ras. He had a speech impediment. He's a wonderful man. But the Haymans there at Seafair would send him over to get cash or get change from Ras. And George said, one time Mike sent me over, he needed 200 ones. And Ras would count them out one at a time. He would go 1, lick his finger, 2. And he said, take him 20 minutes to give me $200 in ones. And Kathleen was part of that as well. It was just the land of beginnings. I mean, it kind of ran its course, but she was just a great, great lady and original Kill Devil Hills. You don't meet a whole lot of Kill Devil Hills natives anymore, but she was one of them. And lastly, you may have seen the obituary for Kay Whitfield. She was the English teacher for 30 years at Cape Hatteras High School. She was a native of Kitty Hawk. She was really proud of her cat. She had this cat named Ferocious, and the cat could go to the bathroom in the commode and flush it. Yeah, she, you know, so Ferocious can do it. Why can't you do it? But she was a really, you know, we skipped school to go surfing and all these different things and everything. I mean, it's just the way it was. When I was in high school there was about 7 or 8 guys with full-face beards. But she didn't take any mess. And, you know, she would have you sit right in front of her. I sat in front of her for 4 years in high school English. And, but she made Shakespeare come alive. You're talking to a guy who's packing fish for, you know, to get some gas money and working at my dad's gas station. But, and Shakespeare with all that Elizabethan language and everything, she really made it come alive. I was not a good student, but she left an imprint as teachers are supposed to do in so many lives. They would do election day things and they would have, she was totally non-political, but she would allow the kids to go through the political process and really made her students take an interest in civics. And I'm really going to miss her. I saw her not too long ago in Walmart, and she was just so proud and so tickled to death. I really didn't know what she was going to say when I saw her, knowing, you know, how school was back in the day there. But what a great lady she was. Her name was Kay Whitfield. Thank you.
Let me see if I understand this right. You said she taught you all 4 years in high school in English. So I'm assuming she taught freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior English, right?
Yeah, I loved it so much I took it twice.
Okay. Good deal. Commissioner Bateman.
He's not lying. I saw her at Walmart too. She loved you. She liked you a lot. She really did. She's
a great lady.
She asked me how I enjoyed sitting on the board with you. We talked about you.
I'm sure.
So, Dave, I appreciate and thank you very much for sending me that link to the, it was the onislandmarthasvineyard.org. Okay, I looked at that video. I think, Wally, did you see it today? Great video, guys. And just go to it. It's called onislandmv.org. And it's about how Martha's Vineyard is dealing with the opioid crisis and alcohol and drug abuse. And I sat there and watched it, and when I did, I kind of identified with the individuals that they interviewed. It's just a small community. You know, they got 17,000 people, 20-mile stretch of dirt, kind of like the same kind of thing what we have, a little bit smaller. Economics are driven strictly by tourism. In the wintertime, there's nothing to do. And it really touched me on how they're dealing with that and how the comparison between Dare County and Martha's Vineyard is very, very close. And This thing with addiction, folks, is a worldwide problem, and everybody has to stick together with this thing. This thing we did with the police officers today, and that's just one piece of a puzzle. And the Saving Lives Task Force is trying to look at all angles of that and add things as we go along, but that's just one piece of the puzzle that makes it easier for someone who was in jeopardy, like these folks in the video were, to get help and make that decision, and hopefully they can save their lives. So, but I thank you your son did a great job on that thing. I mean, it was really a good video. I watched it this morning at 5 o'clock this morning. I hit the thing and I said, I was moved by it. So, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bateman. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't really have anything today, but I did want to say I am looking forward to more testimonials from Danny at our next meeting. Thank you, Danny.
I love it. That brings us to county manager's attorney's business. But before we do that, I'm going to change the order, Bobby, since we're going into a closed session. So we'll reverse it if that's okay with you. Our public information officer, Ms. Hester, do you have anything for us?
I'll just mention one item, and that's our emergency notification system. We are transitioning, emergency management is transitioning to a new platform. We were previously with Rave, and we're moving to a new one. It's branded as OBX Alerts. So if you subscribed previously and haven't resubscribed to the new platform, that's something that you need to do. The old one will no longer be used after the end of this month on the 28th. So we're doing this in conjunction with the towns. So when you go in and set up your account, you can choose how you want to receive the alerts, by email, text message, and then the towns have different lists. There's all sorts of things depending on where you live. Some trash collection, and there's general notifications along with emergency notifications, and even National Weather Service alerts. So I just like to remind people, because when we get to the end of this month, in order to get those, you'll need to be subscribed to the new system.
Good deal.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Dorothy. Finance Director, Mr. Clausen, do you have anything for us?
No, sir, don't.
I'm liking those numbers you sent us this afternoon.
Oh, yeah. They're amazing.
They're amazing. Yeah. Hope that we continue to see that move in that direction. County Manager.
Yes, sir. I have several things. Under our budget ordinance, when I move money from one department to another, I have to tell you. So we moved $51,050 from our contingency line item to our facilities maintenance. We had some problems over at the fuel depot at Public Works, and we needed to get that parking lot repaired and moved. So we moved contingency there to do that. So I'm just giving you that notice that was required in the budget ordinance. We had a legal education seminar last week, actually week before last, and one of the topics was public meetings and COVID, and the discussion was about doing public comment and how were people doing it, and many were doing it similar to what we're doing. Many were bringing people in and standing them in a room somewhere else and spreading them out and let them come in one at a time, doing all kinds of things. But a couple of them were doing Zoom public comment, much as we're going to do next Thursday when we do the public hearing down in Avon. And I talked to Matt about whether we could take that format to a commissioners meeting so that the public could actually comment without having to come in the room by doing it through Zoom. We believe that we can do that. He's working on that, but I wanted to be sure you were okay with us doing it that way before we really put in the effort to try to make it happen and announce it. And we would have Cheryl put it in our notice of meetings and stuff if we were going to do that. Again, we're not getting any hardly public comment since we've been in COVID. with our emails. I mean, we get them all week long, so I guess everybody's commenting on whatever they think before the meeting, but it would give an opportunity for people that want to comment specifically on something that's in the budget, in the agenda, an opportunity to do that. And so unless I see some heads nodding the wrong way, we're going to proceed with that and move in that direction at one of the upcoming meetings, and I'll let you know when. It's just going to be however long it takes Matt to do it. And if the public hearing on Thursday is a calamity because Zoom doesn't work or fades out or there's problems that we don't anticipate, we think it's going to be smooth, then maybe we'll change our view. But next Thursday will be our test to see if we're going to do that.
Yeah, Commissioner Ross?
No, I'm sorry, I had something unrelated. I apologize. I wanted to just get one comment in before we close. And
Oh, yeah, I'll come back at you.
Couple meetings ago, when we passed the revisions to the budget, we had some money in there for merit and COVID bonuses and all that sort of thing. When we went through and calculated out the COVID bonuses, there's some excess funds in the COVID budget line item. It didn't take all of the funds that we thought we were going to need to do that for various reasons. I'd like to move that to the contingency, and I need your approval to do that so that we'll have it to do other things, for the rest of the year if we need it. If not, it'll default back to the fund balance.
Need it as a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I make the motion.
Okay, County Vice Chairman and Commissioner Bateman moved to do that. Is there a second? Second to Commissioner House. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
And I apologize for having all this, but all this stuff came in
No, you're fine.
after the agenda came out. Stan White owns a number of lots. There's 12 of them along Airport Road, starting right there at Daphne Lane, but on the other side of the road. So if you're going in towards the
South side.
it's on the left.
Yep.
Across lots, right through the middle of Lot 2 and across the back corner of Lot 1 of his lots, there's a 20-foot drainage easement that was given to the county a number of years ago. That easement crosses his property, it then crosses Malcolm Fearing's property, and then it goes into a subdivision where we have another easement that kind of zigzags through the easement. To my knowledge, there's no ditch there or anything like that. There's no culvert there, but that easement is preventing him from doing anything with that lot. And he asked if we would just eliminate the easement, and I told him I didn't think we would be willing to do that because I didn't know what the future might hold for the need for that easement for drainage, but that I would recommend to you all that we move it so it straddles a lot line like a normal easement would, and that would allow him to sell his lots, but it would also keep our easement intact should we ever need it in the future. Since that's going to be a transfer of real property, I need your approval to do that.
So what you're saying is that easement goes like through the middle of the lot?
It goes at a diagonal, like from one corner to the other.
Okay, so that, you pretty much eliminate that whole lot.
It eliminates that whole lot for anybody selling it or building on it or doing anything with it.
Right. So it's just moving the easement over to where the
So what we'll
property
do is we'll take it and straddle the lot line between lot 1 and 2. It's a 20-foot easement. We put 10 feet on one side line, 10 feet on the other. That's inside the setbacks, and so it doesn't impact his ability to dispose of those lots or somebody's
Makes
ability
sense.
to build on those lots.
Makes sense.
So Bobby, there's a ditch there now?
I don't think there's a ditch
No,
there.
no.
There's not a ditch?
Not on the south side, not on the south side of Airport Road, but when you go in the back of that, go around and go down that first street, there's a ditch, but that ditch is on the west side of that road.
Of Airport Road?
Yeah, not of Airport Road, but of the, Airport Road's here, and I don't know the name of that street that's there, but there's a ditch on the north side of that road.
I don't think there's anything there. What I was intending to do is have someone from our water department go out there with our locator and make sure there's no culvert or anything there, that it is in fact. I don't think it's used. I don't think it drains anything off the DOT right away at all. I know I haven't been out there and looked. Stan tells me there's no ditch there. There's no swale there.
Okay.
Good.
And so, but if there's a pipe underground, nobody's checked, I can have our guys check that. I don't think there is, but we'll check it.
You have a question on that?
No, I'm still.
Let us get through this,
Yep.
and I'll come back at
Yep.
it. So the county manager needs a motion to relocate that.
I'll move.
That's been moved by Commissioner House. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Tobin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Okay. One more thing before we go talk about closed session. That's where I'm going. 2 years ago, I think we allocated $3,000 to the Monday Night Alive program. Last year, there wasn't a request and it didn't get put in the budget. We understand from them now they'd like to have money in this year's budget now, not in the coming budget. I can take that out of contingency. I'm going to do that. I'm telling you, unless y'all tell me different, then my intention is to have Dave draw a check to them, ask them to follow all the application procedures and audit procedures and all that, but assuming that they do, we would then give them $3,000 this year out of contingency, and then if they make a budget request, we would include it in our next budget as well.
Could you refresh us just who they are again? I know we've talked it, and it just slips my memory.
They're a group that provide services to the kids. They take them on trips, take them to colleges. They do some things on Monday nights to help students in Dare County.
Yeah.
Some of the underprivileged students,
Yes.
and it's a very vibrant program. You actually championed, they asked for 1,500 and you doubled it at that meeting.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I'm remembering
So-
it in my memory, and
yeah.
I couldn't quite
So
pin it
that's,
down,
it's the
so thank you.
same group, and again, they
They-
didn't ask for the renewal
They
last.
tutor them as well.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mathematically,
Make them do their
English.
homework, help them, all those things.
Right now, tutoring is incredibly needed across this county, across the state, for that matter.
But, I mean, they go so far as to buy them shoes and coats, and they, I mean, you name it, whatever they need.
Yeah.
They
do.
feed them as well.
It's a good program. So, again, that's my intention, and I'm not seeing anybody shaking their heads.
Do you need a motion to move?
No, sir, I can do that out of contingent on my own. I just wanted
Okay.
to let you know what I was doing, so.
All right. Thank you, County
Okay.
Manager.
And then, did you have something, Commissioner?
Yeah.
before I
I
go to the closed
did. I
session?
neglected something in my earlier commissioner's business that I should not have neglected. We need to recognize, I think, say goodbye, and a very sincere thank you to Ms. Lorelei Costa, who was leaving the Outer Banks Community Foundation. She was leading the annual meeting today, held virtually by Zoom. And again, I should have included that in my observation. And I'm certainly, I know I'm speaking for all of us, wishing her the very best and our deepest appreciation for a great job for Dare County. So thank you, Ms. Lorelei Costa.
Yeah, she will be missed, but she won't be too far away. She'll just be up in Suffolk, Virginia.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you, Commissioner Ross.
And then last, Mr. Chairman, I need a closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A3 to consult with the attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, and pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A5 to instruct the county staff concerning the petition to be taken on behalf of the county in negotiating the price or other material terms of a real estate matter, and to approve the minutes of the last closed session.
Is there a motion? There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner House, it's seconded by Commissioner Bateman. Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. I call the Dare County Board of Commissioners meeting back to order, and I turn it over to the county manager.
In the closed session, the board consulted with the county attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege and gave instructions to the county attorney concerning the position to be taken by on behalf of the county in negotiating the price or other material terms of a real estate matter, and to approve approve the minutes of the last closed session.
Thank you, County Manager. That brings us to the close of our meeting this evening. And is there a motion to adjourn until 9 a.m. on March the 1st?
So moved.
It's a motion by Commissioner House. It's been seconded by Commissioner Tobin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.